So the paint isn't completely dry on my pot and the neck. This is ready to go in. I took it loose and reattached it and kind of messed with it a little bit. I think this little ring is just set to go on top of that pot when it comes out. So I'm just going to set it out of the line of fire. Here's a spot right over here. I can put it in. Set that over there. And then I'm gonna take each one of these pieces that I washed a second ago. Y'all saw me, well, you didn't see me wash them, but you saw me had them in the basket, soaked them with vinegar, took them up to the house, washed them off, then squirted some WD-40 on there, which I said would evaporate, but it won't. And what I was thinking about when I said that was this stuff, this freeze-off super penetrant, which is an oil. It will evaporate. What I mean by that is if you squirt it on something, it has some acetone on it, so it has like a boiling quality. It's really good for getting really bad bolts unstuck. I'm talking about this stuff right here. I believe it was Rusty Acres that showed me this stuff for the first time, but I could be wrong. It could be another YouTuber. But I said that this oil would evaporate. No, WD-40 doesn't do that. So what I'm doing is I'm just wiping off each one of these pieces, and I'm setting it over here with these other pieces so that they won't be oily when I go to put them on. Because those are bolts, though, I am going to want to run the hoop nuts up and down the shaft a few times just to make sure that I've got all the threads clean, and that when they go on, you don't want, when you put your head on, you don't want any of these things to be difficult to turn or move. In fact, it wouldn't be a bad idea just to take and just do that now. Take my pliers, put them here on the flat spot, put this here, take this gun and just put them all the way on, take them all the way off. So that'll keep me busy for a while. I'll take each one of these and dry it off and then do that. And then set it up here to be used next. I think after I do each one of these, I'll just leave these nuts on them and set them aside here. So I've been making up videos and making them in series. I've got them, I think I'm calling them flood damage, banjo repair, restoration, something like that. And I am putting them in series 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm putting them in a playlist. So if anybody ever wants to restore a banjo that's been damaged in a flood, they can go to that. And I haven't put any fast forward or tricky photography in them, and I'm doing that on purpose because if somebody is trying to do this job, they can fast forward the things they're watching at their leisure, and that way they can move forward to the spot that is the closest to what they are needing to know wherever they're at in the process of doing this. It makes a catchier and a shorter video. A lot of times people watch shorter videos more than they do long videos, and the ones that they watch are usually somewhat entertaining. I don't consider this to be entertainment, though. I mean, I've said before I don't make how-to videos, but in this case I'll say, yeah, I am making a how-to video, and there's a reason for it. I know how to do this. Unlike a lot of things I do, I don't know. I don't have a clue. And because I don't have a clue, I don't want anybody else following my lead because I may not be doing it right. So I kind of go out of my way not to advertise myself as a how-to video person. But in this case, and when it comes to banjos, you know, the bottom line is I know a pretty good bit. Now, all of my knowledge just comes from me teaching myself based on looking at other banjos and reading about banjos and studying about banjos and owning banjos and working on banjos. There's actually people that do things like go to school to learn this kind of stuff. Like there's a guy up in Maine, his name's Philip Reinhardt. Well, he was a kid when I lived up there, and I used to see him out at the Owl's Head Transportation Museum, and he would just be, you know, out there messing around. He was kind of a pre-volunteer. One of the things they'll do, and this is the Owl's Head Transportation Museum in Owl's Head, Maine, they encourage kids to come out and mess around with cars and learn stuff. They have a lot of educational programs where they talk about not just cars, but transportation in general. They keep a fleet of flying airplanes, and one of the things that they advertise or present themselves as is a place where you can see everything in the museum being used. You can see the airplanes flying, you can see the cars driving around. When you go to one of their shows, there'll be somebody driving the cars, the motorcycles, and the airplanes. And Philip, quite young, he started being the person that he would be out there at the car show, and he'd be driving well, I know one time he had a vintage Harley, and he'd be riding that thing around the fairground, and then another time he might be riding around in a Model A race car. I think they got a Krager race car, and they'll drive it around up there, and all these interesting cars. He went to college after. Well, another thing he had was his uncle, who. His uncle had a little bit of fame on public radio because he used to do commentary on there. His name was Barnaby Porter. But anyway, Barnaby he was this young man's uncle, and he gave him a Model A. No, he gave him a Model T. And Philip got it running, and he used to drive it to the car shows, and it was rough. It didn't have a roof panel in, and the fenders were just kind of hung on there. And he would drive that thing to the show, and he'd get more attention than the people with the very expensive cars because it looked like what he was driving wasn't fit to drive or wouldn't be safe, and yet here he is driving it, you know. So then after he graduated from high school, he went to college somewhere at a school that specialized in restoration of automobiles, and then he came back and opened his own shop. Oh, another interesting thing about him was he was a ship's captain too. Up in Maine, we live, you know, off the coast of Maine. There's all these islands, and he worked on, I knew some other people that worked on the mailboat that went out to Monhegan, which is an island. And this one's a little sticky. And Philip got a captain's license and captained many vehicles. I've seen him doing that up there, but he used to work on the mailboat and captain the mailboat. My stepson, Nicky Fernandez, the one that used to drive the race cars, he actually worked on the mailboat also when he was a little kid. In fact, I know a lot of people in Maine that, you know, in Maine there's a lot of people that have a seaman's or a maritime career. I've known boat pilots, ship's captains, fishermen, lobstermen. So Nicky worked on a mailboat. Another guy, when I first got into racing stuff, not only were we racing cars, but I was writing, me and my wife at the time were writing for all the local newspapers, and we were covering the local races. We'd cover races up at Unity Raceway and down at Wiscasset. In fact, I've got a plaque on the wall over here somewhere that basically thanking us for doing that. And that was pretty cool stuff. But I forgot where this story was going. I was going to tell you about somebody. Oh yeah, the guy that shot the camera for the stories that we used to do. Well, he was a boat pilot, a ship pilot. And what they would do is they would bring the tankers, the oil tankers would come in through the harbor, and they would come through the one up in town I used to drive a tanker out of. And they would take him out, and he would have to jump off of a small boat. Sometimes they'd take him out, I think, on a helicopter, but they'd take him out and get him onto a boat, and then he would be the pilot of that boat, which would bring the oil tankers in. And I used to drive a tanker, like a truck tankers. I drove gas tankers and oil tankers. And my friend, who was also the photographer to racetrack, was a pilot boat captain. Interesting guy. I don't know what I was talking about. That's bad, ain't it? I started talking about something and now it's out of my brain, gone. These things happen when you reach my age, I guess. Let me take you over here and show you the plaque that I was talking about. This is from the guys at Unity Raceway, for all your love and support. Homemade racing team. That's me next to our race car. My uncle used to drive to Peach Bowl, and he was number 11. We started out running number 11, and then later we switched to number 13 because somebody else wanted that number. So that's Nikki, that's me, and that's our race car. And this is our race car here. And that's Nikki again, and this guy next to me in this picture is the guy that shot the pictures up at the racetrack. Now, how I got from talking about Philip and the Owl's Head Transportation Museum to talking about that, I don't even know. It's one of the things about me, I'm like an unguided missile. Yes, sirree.